Jazzcast Pros.
Have you joined in on the Sleepmaxing movement? That quest for a perfect night's sleep where every detail is dialed in, from your bedtime routine to the precise room temperature. It's all about optimizing your sleep to the max. But what if aiming for perfection is actually working against you? In this episode, I'm pulling back the curtain on Sleepmaxing to reveal a more balanced approach where it's less about chasing perfection and more about finding out what truly works for you. If you're ready to uncover the true secret of sustainable, realistic sleep to wake up at your best, stay with me. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Doze Podcast. I'm your host, Soda Kuchkowski. With over 18 years of experience in the field of sleep health and medicine, this podcast is a dedicated space to helping you understand how to achieve your best sleep. Today, I'm diving into a topic that I have seen popping up more frequently in conversations around health and wellness, and you've probably seen it scrolling through your social media feed, which is Sleepmaxing. If you're hearing this term for the first time, it refers to the idea of optimizing every aspect of your sleep in order to get the most restful, rejuvenating, and consistent sleep possible. It sounds good, right? But here's the twist. It's a little more complicated and maybe even a bit controversial, because the reality is there is no such thing as perfect sleep. In my time working with clients, I have seen this all too often. So you can imagine when I heard of this trend, it was a little concerning to me, as I've seen firsthand what over-obsessing about your sleep can do. So in this episode, we'll explore what Sleepmaxing really is, talk about why balance is more beneficial than aiming for perfection, the importance of a personalized approach, and why data should guide but not control your sleep routine, as well as what you can focus on instead for healthier, more realistic sleep habits. So if you're someone who's been trying to max out every part of your sleep, this episode might be a helpful reality check on how to make it work best for you. All right, so let's start with why has Sleepmaxing gained so much traction lately? Well, it's largely because of wellness trends and the growing awareness of how essential sleep is for your health, which, of course, I love, as it's a mission for both my companies, Start with Sleep and the Doze. But, and I say this from a place of experience in witnessing, supporting, and advocating for it avidly, yes, it is great that you're waking up to the importance of sleep. But what often follows is a path into believing misconceptions and following trending advice that is well-intended, but often incomplete in giving you total clarity into how to best overcome your challenge in a targeted way. I know it's so easy to want to jump in on the latest trend or sleep product, but not every product is for everyone. And sometimes less is more. You know, we see this in products like high-tech mattresses, apps that track sleep cycles, wearable devices, or, even with things like using sleep supplements. The idea behind Sleepmaxing is simple. If you can control every factor that influences your sleep, you can achieve a truly perfect night's sleep. It's about getting that optimal sleep score every night, which of course sounds appealing, right? But here's the thing, we're human. Sleep is inherently imperfect, and chasing the idea of a perfect night's sleep can actually create stress and anxiety, which ironically makes it even harder to fall asleep. Sleep is naturally dynamic and changing. You don't need to maximize every element of sleep to wake up feeling refreshed and ready for the day. Sometimes getting good sleep is simply about creating conditions that support rest, not controlling every variable. So if you have been putting pressure on yourself to have that perfect Instagram-worthy night of sleep every night, I want you to take a deep breath. You're doing just great just by being here and listening and learning to understand what is going to work uniquely for you. I have seen it all too often. Maybe you've fallen into the trap of trying every fad, from wearing socks to bed just to wake up sweating, or forcing yourself to take a bath when it's really just not your thing. Getting great sleep isn't just about buying into quote unquote what's supposed to work. It's about what works best for you, uniquely you. It's the idea of balance over obsession. Optimizing sleep is great, but there's a fine line between making positive changes and becoming overly focused on achieving perfect sleep every night. Sleepmaxing encourages you to make adjustments that improve your sleep, like setting a consistent bedtime routine, which of course can be beneficial, This means going to bed and waking up around the same time every day, which is great. Consistency helps to regulate the body's internal clock, known as our circadian rhythm. And over time, it becomes easier to fall asleep and wake up. But remember, consistency doesn't mean that there's 100% inflexibility. Life happens. Sometimes schedules shift or things come up, and not every night will look the same. Allowing yourself flexibility within your routine can sometimes be the best way to optimize your rest. It's more about the timing of your sleep, which is where technology comes in. With sleep trackers, apps, and smart devices, you can gather more data on your sleep than ever before. And while tracking can be helpful, it's essential to remember that data isn't the end-all, be-all. Obsessively checking your sleep score can sometimes backfire, especially if it makes you feel anxious about your sleep. And a lower score doesn't necessarily mean poor sleep quality. It's just a reflection of one aspect of your sleep. In fact, you should really only use a sleep tracker if you feel they're genuinely beneficial. I've had clients that have been told by their Apple Watches, great job on your nap, because they're reading. Or another use a Fitbit that scores them poorly because they tend to move around a lot in their sleep. You have to take the information with a grain of salt. It's easy to fall into the trap of obsessively checking your sleep score and worrying when it doesn't look perfect. Sleep trackers aren't 100% accurate, and they can't capture the subjective experience of how you feel upon waking up. Sometimes you might have a lower sleep score but still feel rested, and that's okay. You want to use the data as a guideline to understand trends over time rather than fixating on a single night's results. This has become such an obsession at times that it coined a term, orthosomnia, which is the obsession with sleep data. If you're waking up feeling well rested, take that as a great indicator that your sleep is working for you, regardless of what the numbers say. My advice on sleep tracking is to use it to track consistency as an alarm to wake you up during lighter versus deeper stages of sleep. And as in the case of the one I recommend, Sleep Space, to engage its features like brown or pink noise to help you fall asleep faster and to sleep deeper. Which brings me to creating a peaceful sleep environment. The Sleepmaxxing trend places a lot of emphasis on creating a perfect sleep environment. All the tools, think blackout curtains, sound machines, that perfect mattress. While these tools are helpful, as everything in your bedroom has the ability to promote or disrupt your sleep, no sleep environment is going to be flawless. There'll always be other factors. You might have pets or a snoring partner or live in a noisy area. Instead of fixating on perfection, I want you to focus on what helps you feel most relaxed and comfortable. Even small changes like dimming the lights an hour before bed or adjusting the room temperature can make a big difference. I set mine up with Google Home, so I have amber lighting throughout my home at night. I have an amber bulb in the living room with a timer that reduces the percentage leading into bedtime. I have amber lighting in the bathroom, and I have an amber light in my bedroom, so when I'm getting myself settled in, it's helping to release the hormone melatonin that I need to keep me asleep once I do drift off. So there are tweaks you can add for when life gets busy so that you can have a more hands-off approach to it. Because first, when you try to control every single factor, you often end up feeling stressed about sleep, which can actually make it harder to fall asleep and to stay asleep. And second, it isn't sustainable to have an elaborate sleep routine. You want to create space for it to come naturally without a ton of effort, which is why that automation is a great tool. I can name dozens of times that I've worked with clients in which the solution was to remove, not to add to their sleep plan, to get them where they wanted to be. It always takes time for things to work. So if you don't see immediate results, I don't want you to give up. Most importantly, make sure that if you're investing in tools, that they are to support the habits that you're trying to make. For me, it's blue blocker glasses in the living room, because if I start watching TV, it is easy to go down a rabbit hole to lose track of time, right? Unless I have them on. As a side note, in order for blue blockers to support your sleep, they must be a colored lens to block the blue, green, and violet light that can send signals to your brain that it's time to be awake. So think amber, red, or yellow, depending on your lifestyle and sleep and work schedule. And I'll drop a link down below for the ones that we carry at the Doze in the show notes. There is no one-size-fits-all approach to Sleepmaxxing because it's all about personalization. What works wonders for one person might not work as well for someone else. So if you're trying Sleepmaxing, it's essential to experiment and to find what works best for you. Maybe that means adjusting the temperature in your room, trying out different pillows, or finding a wind-down routine that actually helps you to relax. For instance, some people swear they need sound to sleep, which is me, right? While others prefer complete silence. Some feel best when they wake up at the same time every morning, even on weekends, while others might allow a little bit more flexibility. You can sleep in. It's just about timing. And the best approach to Sleepmaxing is to tailor it to fit your unique needs and lifestyle. That's why general tips don't usually work, right? The deciding factor on what works best is you. So if balance, personalization, and thoughtful use of data are the foundation for healthy Sleepmaxing, what does that look like in practice? First, it's about starting small. I want you to pick one area to work on, like setting up a consistent bedtime or creating a relaxing wind-down routine. Once you're comfortable with that change, add in another. Tuning into your body. Notice how you feel. Instead of relying entirely on technology, check in with your own experience. Are you waking up feeling refreshed? Are you feeling energized throughout the day? These are more reliable indicators than any sleep score. And I want you to be patient and flexible with yourself. Sleep health is actually a journey. Some nights might be better than others, and that's perfectly normal. Approaching it with curiosity, not criticism, will go a long way. The key takeaway here is to approach Sleepmaxing, again, as that journey, not a destination. Think about it like fitness. While working out is essential for health, overdoing it can lead to the opposite effect. You can end up getting hurt or setting yourself back in your progress. The same applies to your sleep. Doing too much can create sleep challenges and actually leave you worse off. I want you to just start with small, manageable changes that feel good and build from there. The actual secret to sustainable sleep improvement, it might surprise you to learn, are about the lifestyle choices outside of the bedroom. I always say that the key to a good night's sleep starts when you wake up. Managing stress throughout the day, staying active, eating well, and getting natural light exposure, those are the things that help to support quality sleep. But they aren't necessarily part of the typical Sleepmaxing approach, yet they're incredibly powerful in their own right. It's easy to think of sleep as something that we only focus on at night, but really, it's influenced by everything that you do, especially during the day. So I encourage you to think of sleep as a 24-hour process where daily choices impact your nighttime rest. So next time you feel pressure to change something in your sleep routine, think about whether there are also adjustments you can make during the day that might be helpful. So if Sleepmaxing is about optimizing sleep, but perfection is impossible, what's the takeaway here? It's all about balance. Rather than aiming for perfect sleep, focus on creating conditions that support better sleep, not flawless sleep. The truth is, sleep is dynamic and it responds to your daily life, your stress levels, and your overall health. Some nights you'll sleep deeply and soundly. Other nights you might wake up a few times, toss and turn, or feel restless. That's normal. A good night's rest doesn't look the same every night, and there's value in making changes that support good sleep, but don't lose sight of the bigger picture. In the end, sustainable sleep health is about small, consistent practices that feel manageable and don't add stress to your life. It's okay if some nights aren't perfect. I want you to give yourself grace and remember, progress over perfection is the key to healthy sleep habits. Sleepmaxing isn't about maxing out every metric or achieving some ideal. It's about making choices that support your well-being in a way that feels balanced and sustainable. So here's my challenge for you this week. Try letting go of the idea of perfect sleep. Instead, I want you to focus on just one or two small changes that can make your sleep experience a bit more restful and a bit more enjoyable. Whether it's dimming the lights before bed, turning off screens a bit earlier, or simply going to bed at a consistent time, and see how these manageable shifts feel. Thank you so much for joining me on the Dose Podcast. I hope this episode gave you some helpful insights and perhaps a little relief if you've been feeling pressured by the Sleepmaxing trend. Remember, sleep is a journey. You don't need to max out every aspect of it to feel well rested and recharged. You just need to find what works for you. If you've enjoyed this episode, please follow us and share it with someone who could use the insight on the best way to improve their sleep. Until next time, sleep well.